is Mindy Laval, and we are so thankful that you're here with us today for Life, Leadership, and Legacy. This is an opportunity for our students and our community to meet some of our community's greatest and most successful leaders. Joining me today is Octavia Diener. I have known Octavia for many years, I think since moving back to Fresno. Mm-hmm. She is a role model for me, a personal mentor, and not only to me, but to many in our community.
Thank you.
She's really not only grown terrific businesses, was the president and owner of Dinsmore Engines, and is presently, I think, the owner and president of a diversified company, farming.
Yes, Octavia Diversified.
Octavia Diversified, crops here in the Central Valley. Not only has Octavia led successful businesses, she has committed her energy and time to helping not only our community here in the Central Valley, but also working up on the state level. Octavia served on California's Council on Science and Technology, the state's Transportation Committee. She's been a local member on the CART board, the board of the Futures Institute, and a member of the Board of Governors for Fresno State. She has served as the past president of the Fresno Economic Development Corporation and the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. I personally had the opportunity to work alongside Octavia on Valley Children's Hospital Board of Trustees when I first moved back to Fresno. I was so impressed with her level of care, compassion, and common sense as we struggled to try to make good decisions to ensure good quality health care for the children of our valley. Octavia, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for that nice introduction.
Well, I appreciate you. I could go on and on and on.
No.
You do so much in our community, and you've done so much every day. I mean, you're paying it forward. One of Fresno State's greatest missions is to prepare thoughtful, committed citizens to help our community not only now, but to thrive into the future. What do you believe are the most important skills for our students to learn before they embark on their professional careers in our community?
Well, I think we're really seeing a good example of it today, and that's flexibility. You can plan goals all day long and evaluate yourself and try to move in a forward direction, but life changes and you have to be flexible to be able to make the right decisions and take the right path. And sometimes we make a mistake, and that's okay too. The important thing is to make a decision and to move forward and be prepared that there's going to be bumps in the road, there's going to be turns in the road, and as we see today with the pandemic that's going on, there's changes that you can do nothing about. You have to be flexible and find a way to make your goals work, even if it's not exactly the way you wanted it, but to take a step forward and try to get there through another path.
I agree with that. I share with my students often at Fresno State that, our personal and professional journeys are never a straight line. And that there's always lots of twists and turns, and sometimes we go forward, sometimes we go backwards, and sometimes we do these big, great stops to reassess. And flexibility is really key, and it's not easy. Sometimes it can be very hard, but I think that that's truly a great skill for our students to embrace, and I think it's something that one needs to continue to learn throughout a lifetime, because change is, like we've always heard, the only constant is change.
Right, and sometimes we make a mistake, but we have to learn from that mistake, be flexible to take advantage of what you've learned and move forward.
So many students are fearful of making mistakes. I work with a lot of the entrepreneur students, but even those in classes. I agree. I think learning from your mistakes is important, and at least forging forward And sometimes it will work and sometimes it won't, but at least you're trying, and that's
right.
very cool. You've committed your time and energy to serving not only our Fresno community, but the state overall. Why? Where did your passion for philanthropy and giving back come from? And why has it stayed so consistent over the years? Because
let me start where, to some degree, where it came from. Many years ago, back in the late 80s, I guess it was, I ran for office, and it was at a time when there were no other women running, and I was very naive about politics. But I had been involved with California Women for Agriculture. We had gone to Washington, D.C., and to the state capitol to lobby legislators. And I think I got carried away with the whole thing and decided I'm going to run for office. That will make a difference. And it was quite an experience. It was one of those things where you just don't realize what is ahead of you. But I jumped in with both feet.
I had no idea that you ran for office.
I did. And it was actually Jim Costa and I, the very first time either one of us ran. And it was quite an experience. There were no other women role models out there. I thought there would be, and I looked around and there weren't. But the first thing I did was meet with various people in Fresno and in the state, like in housing, in crime, in health, and put together a work paper of my own so that I'd be really up to date on the issues and things concerning our community. And then I moved forward, and there's fundraising, there's all these elements to running for office, and I learned so much. So the day that it was all over and I lost, I remember sitting in the office and there's papers strewn all over and everybody's gone and it was raining outside, and I sat there and thinking, what was that all about? You know, I put in 100%. All these people were so helpful. There has to have been a meaning to this. And I decided the meaning was I needed to stay involved with all the knowledge that I had learned and give it back to the community that had been so supportive of me. Even though I didn't win, there were so many people that were supportive.
What a great foundation that was.
It was, as it turned out.
So many parts of our community and what the challenges and opportunities were.
Right.
What a fabulous way to learn about what our needs are.
Well, it was. And like I said, I learned so much. I just felt like I have to give this back in some way. And at that time, I didn't know what it would be, but I got involved with the chamber, and one thing led to another. The chamber led me towards getting involved with a state commission, was the Commission on Transportation, which was another whole field of knowledge. But and you have to be appointed, and the governor at that time did appoint me to the commission. So I still ended up in politics with my finger. I didn't run again, but the politics kept running through my life to some degree.
Absolutely. Were you representing the Central Valley on the state commission?
Yes.
On the state.
Well, yes, and we have some really good people in transportation here, and we were well funded and ready to move forward with many of our projects, like 180 and 41, and so it was a good time to be involved because we were prepared, and the state commission supplies some of the money, so it was a good positive experience for me. And you had meetings all up and down the state. You didn't just meet in Fresno. You met sometimes in Sacramento and then various places in the state. So I got to see this whole state as a whole.
Oh, that's incredible. How long did you serve on that?
For 8 years.
Oh, that's
two complete terms.
Those are long terms.
Right.
I think, it's interesting seeing this. This is a little off topic, but, as we look at this crisis that we've been in with the virus over the last months, it's so interesting seeing how the state is coming together as one and trying to work as one. And
right.
I always admire those in our valley that can serve and are serving on boards that impact the state or committees, because I think having everybody's voice on there is important. And this whole time has given us that opportunity to really all speak out and try together to come up and collaborate with some innovative ways to figure out how we're going to all move forward and stay safe.
And for many years, Fresno was sort of overlooked because San Francisco and LA are the primary areas. Mm. Agriculture is so spread out, there's no real voice. So even though this wasn't agriculture, this was transportation, but still we didn't so much have a voice. So it's important to be on some of these boards and commissions, and there's a whole list of them at the state level. And
yeah, I think it's absolutely vital that when you look at a state as diverse as ours, that we have representation from all over the state. And thank you for doing that and representing the Fresno. And
I learned a lot. It was a very positive experience for me.
Oh, I think
the bottom line in getting involved in the community is sometimes you have to take a look at yourself, at your experiences, and take a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take a chance, step forward, and see what will happen. And good things do happen.
What has been the most surprising opportunity that you said yes to in Fresno, where you learned so much and was able to you felt that you really made a huge difference? There's so many things. I can't, I think of you as being involved with so much, Octavia, that
I'm not sure.
What is your favorite? What is your area? What do you love doing in the community?
Well, I love decisions where you're making them as a group. I mean, not a big group, but where you're brainstorming and you're sort of challenging each other's thinking, not challenging each other, but challenging their thinking and then coming up with a solution and then moving forward. To me, that's exciting. And I have loved participating in that action, because so much that has to do with community involvement is never just one person. One person may have the idea, but basically it takes a group to really move forward.
Absolutely.
Collective ideas.
And that's one of the areas that I know our students, not only in high school, but throughout college, learn is how to collaborate in these groups. And, I listen so often to the students just like, tearing out their hair going, it's so hard. How do you work with such a diverse group? But it is a talent. And I think the more that we can get our students to look at it as an opportunity, the brainstorming, and it's not competing ideas, it's creating that seed and then building upon it.
Right. And so often we go into this meeting or this group or whatever with our set ideas, but it's out of that we find that we change a little bit this way, or change in some other direction, or modify or soften. I mean, there's so many ways to change our opinions and our style, and you get that through a group of thinking people that are willing to share their thoughts and ideas without animosity.
And really care to make a difference.
Right.
Many, many ways to do that. It's just How can you come together for the best effort to step forward? You have been a mentor to many, maybe some you didn't even know, like me, but many people you have inspired through the years. And I really appreciate you coming to Fresno State's Pay It Forward and sitting with our students and sharing of yourself with them. It means a lot. And, the whole concept there was to try to bring students and community together, to share conversation, to learn from each other. How important is mentorship to you? And how are there different ways that we should be doing, preparing our students to be mentees, and getting more people involved in mentorship?
Well, I think being a mentor is one of the most valuable and effective opportunities to help young people. But it's something that sort of develops through trust, through two people or maybe a group. And it has to be nurtured. And like you say, you don't always know it. You don't know you're being mentored, or you don't know that you're mentoring. I mean, it could go either way.
It's so funny. Sometimes I would say, And you wouldn't even know this, but when we were back on the board together, I go, what would Octavia say about that? I mean, it's interesting because you don't even know the impact. I mean, I probably should have shared that with you at the time, but now I know. But I really, you learn so much by example and by looking at people do the things that you so respect.
Right. Well, and I think, I mean, I've been in a position where I realized afterwards that I was being mentored. I was the mentee. I was very involved with Channel 24 many years ago, and they wanted to do some editorial, and they asked me if I would do and again, this comes through politics and all these other experiences, but I didn't have much experience with television. And I realize now, I look back on that, and there was an individual who really mentored me along the way. We would sit down and discuss the ideas and discuss how it should flow, and then I'd have to write it up, and then they'd make some suggestions. And I realize now how valuable that was at the time. So many times we don't realize it's happening, but I think a mentee has to show their dedication to learning and being completely involved and passionate about what they're doing. And then somebody comes along and sees that and appreciates what they're doing, and gets involved to sort of help them along. And I think the mentee, or the mentee, is doing it not because they're looking for praise, but they're looking to better themselves. And that's always obvious to the mentor as well. So there's various reasons why people get involved. The other thing is that you have to show that you can handle the feedback and not feel criticized. If I had felt criticized, I would have just, caved, I guess, not appreciated.
I would have just
you just have to be able to handle that criticism and those suggestions, and then add to them your own resources, whether it's books or videos or reaching out. You have to take those suggestions and make them your own and improve upon them. And then in return, show how you've implemented that feedback. And I think those are things that will really help someone who is being mentored to continue. Or if somebody who's looking for a student or someone in the job, those are the things that you're looking for to kind of help that person come along. And I guess the last thing is I think the mentee has to use conversation. They have to be trusting and use conversation, whether it's about their goals, whether it's about the project at hand, whether it's about problem solving. They have to be able to use some form of communication with that person that's trying to move them forward. And I think those are some of the primary things. And a mentor can open a door for you, but you have to go through it.
Very wise words. Yeah, I mean, that is so true. There's only so much you can do, and opening up that door is part of it. But then what happens once that door is opened is really what will make the difference for that student. And Octavia, thank you so much for mentoring so many and being so involved in making our community better. And I found it very interesting to know that your foundation, or the beginning of your foundation building, was politics.
Yes.
And I never knew that you had run for office. I think that was right before I moved back to Fresno.
It probably was, and it was a lifetime experience. I'll tell you that.
Well, everybody I know who's gone through that experience, it is life-changing, but it's also, you learn so much.
So much.
Yourself, but also about the needs of those people.
Of the community. The needs of the community. Well, I've enjoyed Play It Forward, and some of the students I've met have been very forthcoming, and I've enjoyed hearing about their lives and their goals. And so I think, Mindy, you're doing a wonderful job as well. Thank you.
Well, you're more than welcome, and it wouldn't be anything. The program would not have grown like it has without community members like you. It's really fun to see both community members as well as students returning for a second and third event. and looking forward to it. And I hopefully, once we are on the other side of this coronavirus, we will be back together again at Pay It Forward. And my hope is that we will have a session, all of us together, in the spring with the group that's participated in this this special segment of Pay It Forward, so that we can have the opportunity for the students to ask all their questions that I'm sure that they would have of our panelists. But thank you so much. I really
thank you, Mindy.
appreciate it. I really appreciate you for everything you always do. Thank you, Octavia.